issue, and it's very bitter. And frankly, I was glad that we weren't directly involved in that because we hate to see tension and animosity among Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Especially around something like this would look to me from the beginning like
Mm-hmm.
a devil.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would, dog Islam, that has the potential of survival. Thing that's going on now, Islamic society.
Okay. So if I can ask you a question, you seem to allude to there being, when you say tension, do you mean physical violence or non-physical violence?
Well, don't forget these brothers from Brooklyn, man. They rode in Brooklyn. In fact, there was a very violent incident, that jumped out between Muslims when between Mustard, MIB. That was and the two sheikhs, Imam Tawfiq and Imam Yahya, and because of something that was going on, they both had publications. Both had, magazines and publications. I forget the details, but felt like he was insulted by the publication from the other group, and decided to have a meeting, try to clear the air in Brooklyn. And Sheikh from Harvard, Sheikh Tawfiq, he came with his security, and the two sheikhs were in the office discussing it, and then the gunshot broke out in the mosque, and brothers died.
How many brothers died?
I think 2 or 3.
2 or 3 brothers died. Was this before Mubarak, the Pakistani Mubarak Gilani, or was this?
Way before. This is way before that. And you had, and which is another element. I mean, Imam Tawfiq, who was the sheikh of Oscar Islamic Brotherhood, where Imam Talib is now. He actually was trained at Ashab. He actually was at Ashab, and before he came back. And then, in reaction to the assassination of the beloved Sheikh Imam Haj Malik al-Shabazz, Imam X, he jumped off around the same time, around 67, I think, 67. Again, in reaction to the Nation of Islam had the only organized, really super organized structure in the black community, so represent Islam, and that to be done, a so-called assassination carried out. At that time, it was agreed that the Nation of Islam, or the Fruit of Islam, did it. The guys that did time were just exonerated. They just got millions of dollars, right? Which is a whole other issue. So, but these are issues that we should really be involved in, and we should be discussing in the light of the fact that you have 2 organizations that were Sunni, or Orthodox, Muslim movements who were really trying to prove the orthodoxy of the Deen and to refute the foolishness of the Nation of Islam, and through some kind of conspiracy, again, could have been the government, that got them to have a gunfight, and because people were so afraid that American public was going to really be exposed to the true teachings of Islam, especially at this time, mid 60s and early 70s. A lot of Muslims, like myself, had been in the military. They had military training. Some of them had been to Vietnam, so they were back in the streets with this military training. You know what I mean? They were highly skilled soldiers and had been fighting in the jungle. And the government was very concerned that when they became Muslim, because they understood the concept of of jihad and what they call holy war. But they knew that Muslims would not turn the other cheek and Muslims would fight. And Haj Malik Shabazz had made that very, very, very clear. That this is the religion of common sense. It says if you attack, you have a right to defend yourself.
You have a right to defend yourself.
Unlike the turn the cheek version of Christianity that was being pretty much taught by the civil rights movement under the leadership of the Reverend Dr. Martin King. So you had these paramilitary brothers, many of them were accepting Islam. They were giving back to the white man everything that he stole from them. Were trying to get back their names and his religion and his culture, and all the things that had been taken away, physically stripped away. They found out a way to regain them to become a Muslim, and so the FBI was very keen on this. There's even books now. The FBI records. There's a whole book about 500 pages of the tapes that they made as Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz. They were recording him. His personal, his private, his public life, and trying to figure out how he could be used, or his situation could be used to sow dissension and stop the growth of Islam in America.
Correct.
So that's probably a long answer.
No. I mean, so there's
you need to talk to somebody who really was really deep into it.
Darul-Islam movement.
The best one I know who was kind of neutral in that whole thing. Because there's some brothers who still have a lot of bitterness and animosity. If you talk to them, you're going to hear about how much they hated it and how much they hated the people who went for that Gilani move. You talk to the other side, you might get something similar. But I know this brother was kind of really very. He's a common sense brother. He used to be the director. He's retired now, but he was the Muslim representative in Albany for state corrections.
So I mean, what I'm trying, I guess.
Sheikh Ismail. And he's actually writing a book about the history of the Darul-Islam movement. I think he's really good.
Yeah, please extend, my
balanced opinion from him about what actually happened.
Sure.
How it went down, because I don't know. We were way up here.
No problem, but I'm just trying to ask in terms of you looking from the outside in.
So Abdul, I can put you in touch with him, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah, absolutely. I'd like that. But what I'm asking is that you will look.
Abdul.
Yes.
I don't know what he's doing, but I was listening in, and that was very informative, brother. I was even I myself this year, what I had gone to YouTube and I was researching Malcolm X, and I had even seen they got some of the tapes where the CIA or the FBI was even recording in, but another day was recording him, like all of his personal and conversations and things like that is wild to know, because isn't that something that's illegal? You can't record, or is it not illegal if the government does it? I'm not even sure.
Well, if me or you do it, it's illegal. But if they do it, because they're doing the same thing to King.
I was gonna add. Yeah, I was gonna wait. You on the mark. Yeah, I saw something. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother, but I want to add that even with Dr. Martin Luther King, they had some documents that they were going to present in like somewhere between 2025 or 2030. They were going to reveal some documents, never before information that was revealed to the public. But you on the mark.
Yeah, well, see, it was an agreement that certain documents would be sealed for 50 years regarding him.
Yep.
And that was some kind of deal that was cut, but it was so sensitive and it's probably so bad. But see, they had a lot of dirt on him.
Yeah.
Yep. Even in the movie X, you probably saw it, right?
Yes, sir.
There's one part in there where they're bugging Malcolm's hotel room or his phone or something. I think it's his phone. They're listening on his phone, and one guy says, one of the agents says to the other agents, "Boy, this guy's a saint compared to King."
I remember that.
They had the bug attached. Yeah, they had the bug attached.
No, I remember that. Okay, but I want to know. I want to ask you something if I can. Okay. From what you're narrating, as you said that there was violence involved with the split or whatever. Do you have any idea how it was narrated opposite, that he came with candy and he was so gentle and everybody just followed along because Imam Yahya Abdul Karim, but you're saying there was actually a complete split and there was violence involved there as well. So
I've heard that there was, because I wasn't there, I would hesitate to relate it, but there's a book. There's a book called Black Pilgrimage to Islam. And it's written by a man named Robert Dannin, Dannin. It's an interesting book. Danny himself is a Yahudi, right? And I'm in the book. He quotes me in there because he came up to Jabal Arabia back in the 90s. And what he did in this book is that he tried to research. He did research communities of color, black people, who had movements or had organizations, Islamic organizations, and he came around. He spent a lot of time in Jabal Arabia. He interviewed a lot of the elders who many of them are now, most of them, they're all deceased, and he's got some nice pictures in there. But he did cover the Dar Islam movement. He did the Islamic Party in there, and he got kind of deep. He misrepresented some things, but overall, it's a good place to start. We need another book, which talks about the transformation of particularly African Americans into the Deen, written by us, written from our perspective, But in there you'll find some information about, his wife's name was Jody Starr. She was a photographer, and so when they came up here, he would do taped interviews and she would take pictures, and they put a lot of this stuff in this book called Black Pilgrimage to Islam. And I can't remember, when I read the book, I was mainly interested in what they had to say about us. I can't remember, because it came out in the 90s, exactly what he said about the Dar Islam movement, but I know he did cover some negative incidents, some things where, brothers had wives living in the same apartment, and there was one incident where one sister jumped out of a window and committed suicide. And he tended to put stuff in there that, I think he could have left out because there's too many other beautiful stories. But there is information in there, about, but it would have to be correct. He did a lot of interviews, he interviewed a lot of people. So I would suggest you check that book out, but also talk to someone like, there's one sister, Rabia, who works in Albany in the Department of Ministerial Services. She's a stepdaughter of Yahya Abdul Karim. She grew up in his home, and she was a little girl when the split took place. And her actual father, Haji Muhammad, also had been a chaplain, and he, I believe he also went with the Sheikh, and so, and then Imam Khalil in Syracuse, like I said, he's writing a book. I'm not sure if it's published yet, but he's got, I think he took a shahada in the Dar Islam movement as a young man, and he was involved in, the karate school that they had, just enough, they had dojo, and they were doing some paramilitary stuff. And he was in Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn.
Okay. I wanna move on.
I know it's just hearsay.
I want to move on to something.
I got it second hand, third hand.
I would like to move on.
So, I would definitely put you in touch with,
Oh, I'm sorry. My mic was. I want to move on to something little important. As you know very well, the Nation of Islam was infiltrated, as well as Dr. King movement, the civil rights. Would you get this past Darul Islam that they actually were infiltrated as well?
I believe they were.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
You believe that they were? Did it ever, was it something that crossed your mind that they were actually infiltrated by the Pakistani Sheikh? Or was that ever surfaced in the air at all at any point?
Yeah. There were people, like I said, there were people all the while who looked at him with a massive amount of distrust. And I mean, the one that comes to my mind, the one that was most vocal was me, who Imam al-Amin now is in Long Island. They built the Masjid Allahu Akbar, and he's a little younger than me. I'm 75. I think Imam is probably 72, 73. And we were all young men at the time, but even back then, Imam al-Amin was always very vocal about being opposed to that. As he had been, he loved his Sheikh. He loved Sheikh Yahya. He was very much committed to him and his bay'ah, But when when the Imam Yahya, made that move to go with the Sheikh, he dropped him like a hot potato. He didn't like it. He wasn't with it, and I'm sure he'd be happy to share why and what happened in the aftermath. But it's important because a lot of those brothers, most of them probably now, they're not here anymore. But we're putting brothers in the ground every day now because everybody now is in their 70s or pushing 80.
Inshallah. Inshallah, I gotta cut it short, but I think it was very, very informative. I think that all of us agree that if we do not know our history, then we do not know where we're going, and it's unfortunate that a lot of misinformation again has been given to the fruits of tomorrow, and the fruits of today. Mainly these tales about he did the hijrah and all of this about he got us out of the ghettos and GilaniIslam was nothing or whatever. Everybody was on drugs. These type of narratives are just they're incorrect. They're unbased. They're baseless, and we're not slaves. And I explained that, or I mentioned earlier. We come from El Hajj Malik Al Shabazz and the conquerors. We conquer. We come from better positions than expecting somebody to come who cannot recite properly Al-Quran, therefore not being able to properly explain. But he claimed to have been getting messages regularly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without Quran. So, there's just too much to just let, sit back. And it's unfortunate that from what we're gathering, he actually had a very low opinion of African American, period, as most Pakistanis do. And as you and I, as African American, knowing that and deciding to stay within that is just, it's beyond me. So we make dua for everybody, and we hope that everybody who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed with, some knowledge and some experience to turn to Him sincerely and wholeheartedly instead of worshiping other than Him, instead of worshiping other than Allah is very important. So I jazakallah everybody for coming on. Inshallah, we'll do it.
Brother, of importance. This is of importance.
Mm-hmm.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
I think there should be a follow-up too, inshallah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Hey, I wanted to add before you. It was something of importance. To piggyback off of the brother that was speaking about the Daughter Islam movement, and he made mention of we're burying our brothers every day. I just want to make an update of, and you may know of my family member, Uncle Hashim Abdulaziz. I just was informed that he had a stroke.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad.
We're in Virginia. He lives in the Meheran, on Ahmadabad East.
Mm-hmm.
You may know of him, my Abu, brother Mujahid Abdulaziz.
Listen.
They may call him Gator.
Mm-hmm.
These brothers are out of Philly. Yes. I just want to add this. Several months ago, he had did some work on my home, and he had actually initiated the conversation of the split between the Jamaat members and the ex-Jamaat members. And we had a back and forth dialogue, and I remember he got so heated to where he took the hammer and was slamming it down violently. And I was like, man, you about to have a heart attack. And I always thought about, like, all day today, I was thinking if this pressure was correlated with a stroke with the Jamaat. So that's just some, food for thought. But yes, I was informed that he's in the hospital right now. If everyone that is aware can make dua.
We're gonna make dua for him, man. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, man. It just reinforces what I said.
Inshallah, we're gonna make dua for him that he realizes that he's following shirk and he stop it before it's too late. Because we're not helping him if we make dua for him and he does not realize that he is in shirk and he dies in that state. That's the best deal for him. So say Ameen for your uncle.
I try to talk to him. Sorry, yes, sir.
He a follower of Sheikh Gilani?
Yes, and this is no boast. We had, as our dog was progressing, I had him kind of back into a corner to where he went berserk. And it was like
because I don't know if Sheikh Sabu we have traces and evidence of sorcery in his practices. He was teaching people how to make spells and sorcery and magic, and he even has a genealogy video where he's talking about jinns and stuff. A lot of them, again, what's that? Yeah, a lot of them are.
Okay, go ahead, you got it.
Yeah, a lot. Unfortunately, I mean, we have first-hand reports of it, where these people have been. I mean, they believe that they love him so much they'll die for him. They love him so much they'll die for him at a drop of a hat. Yeah, go ahead.
You got it, brother.
You got it, brother. Since his demise, since he's passed away, which I guess at least a year ago. So who has anybody stepped up in his stead since his passing?
His wife. And Hadith states that any nation that leaves is
brother Asim, you're talking to this Imam Sabu. He's trying to digest the fact that his wife took over. Let him do it.
No, I'm saying his wife is the Amir.
Yeah.
They call her Sheikha.
Okay, well that tells you right there about this.
I wanted to add to with Hafiz Abdul Fattah. Even in our dialogue, he stated that he actually shared with me where Shah Sahab took him to Jannah, to the Holy Court. Yeah, so I was like, I said to myself, like, I wouldn't tell nobody. I said it to myself, like, I wouldn't like. It was just.
Yeah, that the part of. I mean, when I used to hear that he took people to Jannah, I said if I went to Jannah, I would never get out. I don't know anybody who would go to Jannah and get out. And then they believe.
Who wants to come back?
Exactly. And then there's another one. I have a video on the White Hawk. You should listen to that. They believe they're flying over all created, spiritual, non-spiritual worlds. But that includes Nar. That includes hellfire. That means you just flew into hellfire too.